Really thought it was a really good college football game Saturday night. We did a lot of things well. We obviously didn't do enough things well to win a game. Give Hawaii credit; they really played their best game of the year, and we didn't play our best game of the year, but we did a lot of good things. Ran out of gas a little bit at the end on defense. Um, and really just got to give Hawaii credit. They played an outstanding game, and we still have a very young football team. I'm very proud of our guys and the adjustments they've had to make, the things that we've had to overcome, and we've learned an awful lot. We're starting two true freshmen on offense, and Torrey Horton started for us this last week, did a fabulous job. And then Jacob Gardner's still playing at left tackle. So we've got a lot of young players that are still learning how to play. We've got to find ways to play a little bit better, obviously. And one of the things about that game, there's no turnovers. Really been an unusual year that there hasn't been many turnovers in any of our games by either team. And so it really came down to third downs. Third downs was really key in the game. The other unusual thing about that game was, Hawaii had 4 drives of 80 yards or more to score, and they did a really good job of executing. And that just doesn't happen very often, in a game when you make a team drive the length of the field. The odds are that you're going to stop them a lot of the time, and they obviously did a fabulous job of doing that. One drive was 99 yards. That just doesn't happen very often. And we've got to do a better job of penalties. The penalties really are timely, and they really are backbreakers. We had our first score taken off the board because of a penalty. There were 2 penalties on the long drive that they had. They extended their drive. And so we've got to do a better job there. But overall, we got a good young football team. We got to continue to get better. We're in the 4th quarter of the season now, and 8-game season. We break the season down in quarters, and this is a time of year where you really got to be at your best. You gotta finish strong. You got to do a great job of practicing this time of year. You got to take care of your bodies, be fresh. Coaches got to be upbeat, and we're excited to start this 4th quarter of our season. We play a really good Fresno team. Coach has done an amazing job with those kids. They lost their first game, and they played very well their last 3 games. They've had some pauses. Obviously, they haven't been able to play, so they'll be well rested and ready to go. It's always a physical, competitive game when we play Fresno. They're a talented offensive team that can score. They got good athletes on defense, and they've been playing very well. So really be a big challenge. We're excited to be back home in Mackey. It's also senior night in a very, very unusual year. Can't say enough about this class and how they've handled themselves over the last few months with this COVID. And, we got a lot of kids that have been with us for 4 years. And, when we first got here, we really struggled, and we've really got a lot of buy-in from this group of seniors. They've really sacrificed a lot, and this staff really appreciates those guys. Again, it's a little bit unusual because we'll have a chance to bring some of these seniors back. And so it's a different time that we're living in. And so I just want to recognize those guys for their contribution, and obviously this is our last home game, and we want to send them out with a good memory. So really looking forward to this week and playing a good Fresno team.
And with that, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions for Coach.
As you mentioned, Fresno hadn't played its last 2 games because of their issues. Have you had any dialogue with them? Have they told you, that they're in good shape, or you just kind of assume that you're going to play until you otherwise?
No, I haven't. Doug kind of handles all that communication with their AD, and everything that we've gotten is that they're good to go and they're ready to go this week. So, um, we're looking to play. I guess we're going to play at 7:30 Saturday night, and so everything we've gotten, the indications are that they're ready to go.
You mentioned senior night. I guess, what is your guys' policy going to be with the seniors coming back? Will just, the really, I don't want to say important ones, the productive ones get a chance to come back? Or, I mean, you obviously have to finesse the scholarship situation as well.
Well, it's a really unusual situation, Chris. The NCAA kind of came out with some policies that this year was not going to count for the seniors' eligibility, and that they would have an opportunity to come back, but there's also scholarship implications that go with that. And so we'll sit down with every guy and talk about what their plans are. I think we do have some guys that are graduated and they're ready to go on. They have plans to move on. They've done a really good job academically, and they have jobs that they're looking to start their adult life in. And so I think we'll have some guys that will move on. I do think we'll have some guys that want to come back. I've talked to several of them that do want to come back, but we'll sit down with each guy individually. It'll be kind of an individual decision by them. And then we'll talk to them as a coaching staff. And it's very unusual. I've been coaching for 3 decades and never been through a situation like this where your seniors have a chance to repeat their senior year. So, and I think it's fair that the NCAA's made that rule. It's just what these kids have had to go through this year. It's just tough, especially the seniors that have sacrificed so much to play. And I just feel very fortunate that we are playing, that we do get a chance to have a competitive season for them to finish up. For those that do move on, they can look back at, it's this 8-game season and say, at least I got a chance to compete my senior year. So to answer your question, it'll be done on an individual basis, and we'll visit with those kids and see what they want to do.
The status on Don Peterson? Is he going to play this week?
We're hopeful that he will. He didn't really practice today. He wasn't able to run around very good, but he's not ruled out, and we're hopeful that he's going to be better by the weekend.
That's just an ankle injury?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got a bad sprain, and when you're 300 pounds, those sprains are a little bit different for guys that are lighter than that. And so, everybody's a little bit different, but he was hobbled pretty good. When he got hurt, he couldn't return in the game Saturday night. And, he's an awfully good player, so we do miss him when he's not in there.
I was going to say, what was the impact you saw in the second half without him? It seemed like the line still did a good job against the run, but maybe not as many pressures as you'd like to see in their passing game, although they were trying to get the ball out quick, obviously.
Well, he's just such an emotional leader and a rally guy. And we just kind of missed a little bit of rally there. There's such a fine line between winning and losing, and you got to give Hawaii credit. They played outstanding. They had a great plan and they executed their plan. And that was by far their best game that they played offensively. And so there's a fine line between winning and losing, a kick here, a big play here, and a special team, finishing a 4th drive and not having a penalty in a critical situation. There's probably a handful of plays that could have flipped that game either way. And having a player at Don's magnitude, you miss him, especially in a close game. And so, and he's one of our leaders too, as well. We missed a little bit of the leadership going down the stretch in that game. So he was missed. And so hopefully we'll have him back. And this is time of year where your leaders really are important. because you got to have the right practice mindset. You got to really have somebody that, as a coach, you can talk about the importance of situations, but you really need your older players to pull the young guys aside and let them understand that the preparation is so important when you play these kind of games going down the stretch.
We've obviously seen a lot more games in the Mountain West canceled because of COVID issues. I mean, you and Hawaii are the only two in the Mountain West not to lose a game this year because of that. What do you think's been the key to your guys' success and being able to play your games? And it doesn't appear like you've been without very many players outside of maybe that first game.
I just got to give a lot of credit to our medical staff. I just think from the start of this thing, we've been very creative in everything that we do. I mean, there really isn't one thing that we normally do that hasn't changed because of the COVID. Our kids don't shower in our facility. We don't use our locker rooms the way we did. We got our kids spread out all over the facility. We don't meet as a team. It's almost unprecedented. And that's why I've been so impressed, to be able to put complex game plans together and to get the kids to execute them at a high level is really difficult right now. We really don't get to sit in a meeting room with our players and watch film and make adjustments. And that's really, I think it's a credit to our coaching staff that we've been able to function that way. Since the beginning of this thing, I just felt like we had to be creative, and we, like when we team meet today, we met on the field in Mackey, and we put the film up on the scoreboard and we watched it as a team, and we're social distance spread all over the field. I mean, that's just one area, and it's very, very challenging to get everybody to think like-mindedly as a team when you can't meet as a team. And so, and it's especially on Mondays and Fridays. Monday is a team meeting. We call Monday Accountability Monday. It's Tell the Truth Monday. So we look back at the game and we make corrections, and you have to do that as a team. And then Friday, Friday night before the game, we all kind of come together as a team, offense, defense, special teams, and we talk about the plan for the game. It's very difficult to do those types of things if you're not together. And I think that's one of the things that the COVID situation has really challenged a lot of coaches. I think there's a lot of coaches that haven't been able to adjust, and probably in every business, probably in your guys' business, it's the same way. There's people that are just stuck in their ways, and they don't know how to do anything differently. And I just think those people are really struggling right now. I really do. And so from the very start, we decided that we were going to do everything on Zoom. We were going to meet as individual position groups on Zoom. We weren't going to use a facility. We weren't going to shower here. We weren't going to, we have to split up our weight training. Everything is different. And so, this past weekend, we had team meals. We didn't eat together. We're grabbing bags, going back to their rooms. It's just different. And it's challenging, and it wears you down. And, I think there's a fatigue factor that goes with it as well. I mean, I think everybody's feeling it in every walk of life. Everybody's just tired of it, but you can't let your guard down. You have to continue the protocols and doing the things that you need to do. And, I think the other part of this whole thing is, I think people underestimate nutrition, sleep, eating right. All those things help build your immune system. And that's the thing. When your immune system gets worn down, you get sick. And so, we're talking to the kids about eating right. We're talking to the kids about sleeping. We really just went through a long 3-day road trip to Hawaii, and we were very, very conscious of our guys getting enough sleep and rest so they wouldn't get sick. So it all matters, especially when you're fighting for, there's a lot of things that happen in the course of a game, in the course of a week, that help you win games. And for us, practice is everything. For us to be able to practice well, have good environment to practice, it means everything for us to perform well. And so that's where we keep our focus. And, we've just really followed our medical people's advice. Dr. Islas and Spencer Hyde, Jay Hankey, our guys have done an amazing job, and we just try to follow the protocols and do everything we can to be able to play. And so we feel very blessed and fortunate, and we've got great leadership from our medical people.
Was there pressure to keep that unbeaten streak going, or is it just added motivation now to get back on the winning track?
No, I mean, our goal's been very simple from the start. I mean, our goal is to play as well as we can play, and we're still scratching that, trying to reach that potential. We got a lot of young players. The more we practice, the better we get, and so our goal is to play our very best. We haven't done that yet, and so we have to respond. And hey, we're not foolish enough. Everybody's coaching their guys. I mean, it's a competitive league. There's a lot of good coaches in this league, a lot of good players in this league. And so we respect that. And we're in the middle of a competitive Mountain West season, man. We're in the middle of it. We're in the hunt, and we want to compete, and we want to play our very best. So we're excited. We ain't walking around with our dauber down. We got bounce in our step, and we're ready for the next challenge. And this week's going to be a real challenge. Fresno is a dynamic team, very well coached, and so we're going to have to be at our best. And I think that's the exciting thing about this time of year. You work all year long to be in this stretch. Where you got a chance to play for something, and you got a chance to prove yourself against the best. And and that's what we'll get a chance to do here.
What stands out to you about Fresno State's defense this year? Just what you've seen on film since they are under a new defensive coordinator this year.
Yeah, I know Coach Inge really well. He's an Iowa guy. We go way back, and he's their defense coordinator. They've done a fabulous job. I think they're mostly a 4-down front. They're going to play, cover 4 and cover 1. They're going to pressure you and try to use their athletes. And Fresno always has good athletes on defense. And so, they played very well. They've settled down after their first game, and they continue to improve every week that they play. And so, we're going to be looking for their best game. I mean, I think one of the things that you've seen in this league is that everybody's getting better. Everybody's, the more they get to practice, they're improving. And so we expect to see, the best Fresno team that has played all year this week. And we've got to be ready for that challenge. But they have good athletes. They pressure the quarterback. We're going to have to do a great job of pass protecting and being physical in the run game. That's going to be very important in this game when you play this Fresno team.
You mentioned the lack of turnovers. I mean, I think you guys have created 3 in 6 games. I mean, the defense has been good, but why do you feel like the turnover creation has lacked so far this year?
Well, I just think I think that's an area that we haven't quite gotten to. And when I talk about playing our best, I think that's part of it. We've done a really good job of playing defense, limiting big plays. We didn't play as well going down the stretch last week as we have played, but we've done a good job of limiting big plays. We haven't been as disruptive as we possibly can, and I'm still waiting for us to get to that point. Playing tighter coverage, really being more disruptive in the pocket and making the quarterback throw over us and getting some bad balls in the air. So, my hope is that they come in bunches here at the end of the year, this fourth quarter when it's most important, and we'll keep scratching and clawing to play better. I think that's one of the things that we've been very diligent in defensively is really limiting the opponent's strength. And I think Coach Ward and the defensive staff has done a really good job of that. Now we gotta Now we got to be a little bit more disruptive, get some pressure on the quarterback, get our hands on some balls, and get some turnovers. And that's been unusual. I think, I can honestly say this is the least amount of turnovers I've seen in 6 games in a season. And so when that happens, third down becomes a real premium. I mean, you got to get off the field. And that was one of the issues that we had Saturday. We just couldn't stop them on third down, and they were able to extend drives. And so, those 2 areas are real area of focus this week, is getting some turnovers and getting off the field on third down.
They obviously did a really good job against Romeo. I mean, what do you hope that he learns from that game? And I mean, maybe even the coaches getting him the ball. Obviously, they were doubling him and doing things, but what do you want him to take away from that game?
Well, I mean, there's some things we could do. I mean, obviously to get him the ball, and I mean, the goal was to win the game, and we felt like we had a plan to do that. They obviously made a real precedence on just not allowing him to catch the ball. And you can do that defensively if you want to roll your defense that way. There's some things that we can do, and we've talked about those, and we looked at some in practice today. But Romeo did what he was supposed to do in that game. And I got to say, Carson really played well. We executed a plan, and we just fell a little bit short. And we ball controlled. We tried to keep the ball away from them. We just couldn't get off the field and stop them when we needed to, and that was unfortunate. But there's some definite things we can do, and we talked about that. And one of the things that we've seen the last 4 weeks, we've seen 4 different defenses than the teams have played. And so, we're having to adjust during the game, and we'll continue to do that. I think the great thing about that is that, Carson Strachan has seen everything a defense could throw at him now. And I think he threw for 80% Saturday, and the incompletions that he had in the game were throwaways. So, I mean, you got to give him credit. He did the things we asked him to do in the game, and he gave the team a chance to win. And yeah, there's some things we could probably do different, and we'll have some of that ready as we move forward. But I gotta give Romeo, and even though Romeo didn't catch a lot of balls, he was still eating up a lot of defense, and he was giving other people opportunities. So that's something that was a kind of an effect from that game as well.
With you guys coming back from Hawaii, and they basically had 2 bye weeks in a row, I mean, are you at all worried that they might be a little bit fresher as a result of that?
No, I mean, they ought to be fresh. I mean, they haven't played, so but I'm not worried about it at all. No, we've been very conscious of this. When we get the schedule, we look at the whole schedule and try to figure out, how we can best manage that, and so our guys can be most effective. So we never look at just one game. We look at, how is this going to affect the following week? And one of the things we did do is we stayed Saturday night, which I was really pleased what we were able to do, and appreciate Doug allowing us to do that. But, when you play a hard game and you play late, you got a lot of big guys that expended a lot of energy. They're beat up, they're sore. And the last thing you want them to have to do is sit in the airplane, sleep all night, and come back, at 9 o'clock the next morning. So we got back to the hotel after the game. We put everybody to bed, and we got up and came back. And I think that will be very beneficial for our kids bouncing back quickly. When you make that all night flight, it takes about 3 or 4 days just to recover. And, we were back on the field today. We were fresh, and the guys were anxious to go. So I think we'll be fine.
I mean, I know coming off a loss, everything's not always feeling great, but I mean, you guys are 5-1. You control your destiny as long as these last 2 games are played to get to the Mountain West Championship game. I mean, you have to like the position your team is in with 2 weeks to go in the regular season?
No, we talked about it, and the big thing is, I mean, I'm not afraid to say it. Our goal is to win all the games. I mean, that was our goal, and so and we feel like if we play to our potential, that's a realistic thing. It's not something that to say with bravado. It's just I think our team is a good team, and when we play to our potential, we should win. And it's our job to point out the reasons why we didn't accomplish that Saturday. But we're excited. We work all year to get to this point, to where when you're in the last quarter of the season, you're playing and have an opportunity to play in a championship. And so we got a home game, senior night. We're playing one of our rivals. We feel really excited and very good about the opportunity that we have, and we got a lot of pep in our step. We're ready to roll. So, and for us, it's practice. I scream and holler a lot on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and on Saturday, that's the players' day. That's when they go play. But for practice, man, it's all about focus and attention to detail, and that's the biggest thing we demand from these guys early in the week. And so we just keep working the process, and they got to understand the importance of preparation and getting ready to play a good team like this, and respecting your opponent. If we handle that and we look at it one day at a time, when we look up in a couple of weeks, we should have an opportunity for something special. And that's just kind of the way we look at it.
Carson, this is the first time you guys have had to bounce back from a loss. I guess what's the mood with the team been just during today's practice and moving forward?
Everyone's upset, and everyone knows, like we could have played a lot better and could have done some things, win that game. But at the end of the day, we're still sitting in a good spot. We're still in control of what happens. If we win out, we're in it. So everyone's still positive. Everyone still has life because, this is a must-win game, and moving forward, every game's a must-win. So we just kind of have that mentality now, like it's just must-win time, and it's like playoff mode.
Coach said each of the last 4 defenses you guys have faced, it's been different than what you had anticipated or what they had done leading into the game. I guess, why do you think that is? Why do you think teams are throwing different things at you, and how have you guys had to adjust on the fly in those situations?
Yeah, Hawaii, they had a really weird look. They were double teaming Romeo almost every single time. They were dropping 8 into coverage, sometimes even 9 people. So they were giving us really good run boxes. They were kind of like forcing us to run the ball. And, that's something that we can do. We've shown that we can run the ball, but, we just have to be able to adjust no matter what teams throw at us. We have to be able to, execute plays and score points. But I think teams are trying to give us looks like that because they know that they can't just line up in an old basic defense or else they'll get torn apart. And so it's kind of like pick your poison. And they were not going to let us throw a bomb post to Romeo this game. And so they chose that the poison was going to be the run. And, each week has been, the defenses have had a different strategy, but, we just have to be able to execute no matter what the defense is doing and just focus on, making big plays and just taking what they give us.
With this week, I mean, obviously they could change some things, but what have you seen from their defense? What do they do? What do they like to do to try and slow down opposing offenses?
They're typically a 4-down lineman front. That could change. They've had almost 3 weeks off. So, I mean, they could come out in almost anything, especially to us. So typically they've been a 4-down front, cover 4 a lot and some man coverage, but we really have to be ready for anything. These past few weeks, we've gotten some crazy looks. And so we really just have to be ready for whatever.
After Saturday's game, how do you think this week of practice, just heading into Saturday, will test the character of your guys' team, and you have to take every day one at a time?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we came out today at practice focused with the understanding that this is a must-win game for us. And even though we lost, have life. And, this team, we just want to win games. We want to do whatever it takes to win. And that starts in practice. So we're all locked in and we're all focused on this week against Fresno.
You and Hawaii are the only two teams in the Mountain West not to lose a game because of COVID this year. What do you think's been the key to your guys' success, staying healthy and avoiding having a big outbreak in your roster?
Our coaches and our doctors and trainers have given us a good plan. And ever since we've been here in the summer, we've all done our absolute best to stay healthy. We come to football, we come to the facility, and then we go home and do nothing, basically. So I think that's the recipe right there, because when we come to the facility, I feel like that's a really safe place to be. Everyone has masks. If you don't have a mask, you get told the second you take it off to put it back on. And so the facility is a really safe place to be, and everyone just goes home after that. And so, I think that's the recipe. Just go to the facility, go back and do nothing, and wear your mask.
I know you and Lawson like to study film and all that stuff to start with, but do you think that almost going back home and doing nothing helps the other guys to just focus on football because they are there and they might as well look at film or do whatever they need to do to get as prepared for the game as possible, not distractions kind of away from, campus and parties and things of that nature?
That's exactly right. And especially I think with the freshmen, they had at the beginning, when we were first training, they kind of had a hard time staying healthy just because freshmen are still doing freshman things. They still want to, mingle and meet everybody and, have their college experience. But they've really locked in and they understand that if they get COVID, they can mess up the whole team and they could spread it to other players and shut us all down. So everyone knows how important it is to stay healthy. And so, like you said, I think everyone's even more locked in because of COVID, just because we have no other option.
Did Hawaii's defense do anything that maybe would have surprised you a little bit on Saturday that you weren't quite expecting, or what you guys did see on film? Then to quickly adjust on some things.
Just the way that they played Romeo. They were running cloud coverage against them. So they had a safety like 20, 30 yards over the top of them, refusing to let us throw a deep ball to him. And then a corner would be up in his face, playing really physical and aggressive with them at the line of scrimmage. So it was really hard for us to, we got to find ways to get Romeo the ball. He's such a great player when he has the ball in his hands, but we just weren't ready for that. They would try to jam him as hard as they could at the line of scrimmage with the guy 20 yards over the top of him. And so with the drop 8 coverage, they were forcing our hand to run the ball. So we weren't exactly ready for that, but we adjusted and we ran the ball well. We ran for over 200 yards. So we just have to finish drives. And, we only had like 6 or 7 possessions in the game, but we have to make all of our possessions count and score touchdowns on as many as we can.
All right. If nothing else for Carson, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and open it up for questions for Lawson Hall.
Thank you.
This is one of the better sets of skill position players in Fresno State. The quarterback's really good. Obviously, Rivers really good. Where do you think they are most dangerous as an offensive group?
Like you just said, I think they're most dangerous with their skill players, especially at the running back position. Ronnie Rivers is an outstanding player, and he has been in this conference for a while. So we're going to have to just do a good job at containing him, as well as containing, the quarterback and, their other skill players they have on offense.
Is there any big takeaway from that Hawaii game that you can use this week?
Just executing, making tackles. We missed a lot of tackles that game, and we had some mental errors that we need to work on, and just being gritty when we're down. We had to fight and claw to put ourselves in positions to win the game. So, that game kind of taught us a little bit about ourselves, how gritty we are. We just couldn't get the job done at the end when it counted.
You guys obviously lost Dom there in the second half. I mean, it sounds like questionable for this week. When he's not on the field, what do you guys lose just beyond the playing? Coach kind of said he's a rally guy, a leader guy, a guy who kind of gets the group moving in the right direction.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Just when Dom is not on the field, what do you guys lose defensively as a unit?
We kind of lose that, that it factor, like you said, the energy that he brings, the playmaking ability that he has. He's able to make plays, out of nothing. And that's a big part of our defense. Our defense is, predicated around, that front line getting push and making plays in the backfield. So we kind of lose that a little bit with him out.
Coach talked about this being senior day. I'm not sure what your plans are on returning next year, but what is your approach? Your last game at Mackey Stadium potentially, or do you plan on playing more games at Mackey Stadium moving forward?
Not really sure yet. At this point, I'm just playing every game like it's my last game. But this is obviously, a huge thing for me as well as the other seniors on this team. We've worked hard to get to this point. And it's going to be a kind of an emotional thing, for those who aren't returning. But yeah, I'm not really sure yet on that.
How would you describe your journey and, the rest of the guys who came here under Coach Polian and have gone through the last 5 years of, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but certainly ending on a high point? Yeah,
it's been a ride. I'll tell you that. Going from 3-9, to where we are now, we've had to, adjust and go through a lot of adversity and find out who we really are as a team, who we want to be, and how we want to get there. Coach Norvell has, laid a great foundation for us to be great, since he's got here. And Polian did a similar thing. But yeah, it's been a ride, and it's been a great ride, at that.
As I asked Carson, what do you think has been the key to your team's success in avoiding COVID outbreaks and continuing to stay on the field as many of these other Mountain West schools have struggled to get games in?
I think most guys, know how important, it is, to stay safe during these times because, as we've seen throughout this conference, just a couple of positive cases can shut down the whole program. And I feel like they had to learn that, early on. Like Carson said, they were kind of, doing their little freshman thing for a little bit, but they got it together pretty quickly because they know how important it is to this team, and they kind of knew how far we could go. I feel like they sensed that after the first couple of games. They were like, okay, we have a real championship contending team, so they didn't want to mess that up for anybody, including themselves.
Coach talked a little bit about staying at Hawaii Sunday night. I mean, you've done the Hawaii trip before. I mean, do you feel a lot fresher just spending that extra night and this quicker turnaround against Fresno, which is coming off a couple of bye weeks essentially?
I do. I think that was a great idea because usually after that game, the last time we went out there on the plane, we got a lot of guys cramping up because they couldn't, hydrate immediately after the game. So they were sitting down for a while, letting their legs get tight. But, staying an extra night, we were able to get, some more rest. We were able to hydrate, stretch a little bit. So, that was huge. And that's going to be huge, with this game coming up with fresh legs and, fresh bodies and fresh minds.
Anything else for Lawson? Oh, go ahead.
What was just the energy like at practice today? And then, having, like we were saying to Carson, taking everything just one day at a time, but what was it like out there today?
Obviously we want to win every game that we play. So, a lot of the guys were down. I'm talking about the players, a lot of guys were, hard on themselves and things like that. And some of the coaches kind of reassured us, like, it's not the end of the world. We still have all our goals in sight. We can't really dwell. We can't dwell on one loss for too long. We had time to think about it and, correct some things. But, We kind of got our spirits up a little bit today. We came in a little low, but the coaching staff, reassured us that everything was going to be okay. We still have our goals in sight, so we were going to be fine.
Coach talked a little bit about creating turnovers. I mean, you guys have played really well defensively, but I think 3 turnovers created in 6 games. You haven't given up any big plays, though. So is that just kind of a trade-off, maybe not quite as aggressive to limit those big plays? Or what do you think you guys can do to create a little bit more momentum swinging, turnovers and whatnot?
It just comes from, taking shots at the ball and, putting ourselves in positions to get those turnovers, because we've had opportunities to get a couple of those turnovers. We just didn't capitalize, in a lot of those opportunities. But yeah, we just got to take more shots at the ball and, be more hungry for the ball. And limiting the big plays, that's just from execution and knowing where we have to be and playing team defense. But yeah, I do feel like it's kind of a trade-off, but yeah, we got to take more shots at the ball.